high school, one of my best friends took his life.
Oh, wow.
And he was 16. And I found out when I got to school, and I was the last person he spoke to the night before. We had gone out for ice cream. And I thought that Aaron was fine. And in the morning, he was not fine. And I just remember that I was in the middle of a severe depression at the time myself, being untreated. I was undiagnosed. I mean, I knew something was wrong just because of how I behaved and the things that I would do to myself. But I didn't know that there was help. And when he passed, I was just like, I'm coming. I'll be right there. And I attempted immediately after. And my family didn't say a word. So I slept for 15 hours, which really it was medically induced. I had taken some of my grandmother's pills.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody noticed. And then I woke up, and that we talked about that in the very beginning, that anger with being alive.
Mm-hmm.
I've been so angry every time I've survived. I've been angry about it. And
how are you getting through that right now?
A lot of flipping therapy. And that whole learning to love yourself.
It's hard.
So flipping hard.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you can cuss. It's okay.
We do.
I do all the time.
I'm trying to keep it clean.
I can't be on tour and on a road with musicians for my whole life.
I think it's true about the anger because,
cuss.
There are times that I feel a lot of rage. It's like there's the rage and anger, and I think that's a very interesting point that you bring up.
I know that when we started out, we wanted to talk about what happens when you survive.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for reining us back in.
And I can't express enough to people that when you attempt, you are damaging your body, whether you realize it or not. You're hurting your liver. You're hurting your kidneys. If you're taking some type of an opioid, you're hurting your body. And I was on dialysis 4 days a week for 2 months.
On your kidneys?
Because my kidney had failed. I had one kidney, and I have one kidney,
mm-hmm.
and I ruined it. My liver had failed. My liver's fine now. It's come back. But I failed. I hurt my body. So when you're using opioids, which I know a lot of people do, with the intention of overdosing, those don't always work. And because I didn't work, I laid unconscious for 18 hours. And I gained 72 pounds of water weight in 24 hours because my body had started to...
Toxins.
The toxins, and it was called compartment syndrome. And different sections of my body were starting to break down. So I was in the process of dying.
Right.
However, I woke up. And then I had to deal with the fact that I had gained the 72 pounds of water weight. I had no feeling in my legs. I was terrified that I was going to be amputated. Instead, I was not amputated. I had eight incisions to drain the fluid out of my body. That ultimately left the lack of feeling. I do not have any feeling in my right foot, and I probably never will. I don't have full range of motion in my right foot, and I probably never will. I said I had to learn to walk again, which was incredibly hard. I was in rehab for 4 weeks, just learning to be a human again and trying to heal. And then I had to go to physical therapy for 1.5 years to get muscle function back.
How did you do this taking care of 2 kids on top of that?
A family. If I did not have the amazing family that I have between, my immediate family, my in-laws, they came to my rescue.
The reason why you only have 1 kidney is because, which I find very interesting and admirable, is because you donated your other one to the principal of your son's school,
yeah,
who was in need. And that's probably one of the reasons why you're still here. Your karma. Ha.
Paid it forward.
Paid it
Paid it
forward.
forward.
Thank you, God.
Absolutely. And I do praise God for having me here, but I praise Him only because I know my kids would be hurting like we're all hurting now, being those types of survivors.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want my children to feel that way. And I'm trying very hard to break that cycle in our family, like I've been trying to break the abuse cycle in our family. Because there is a cycle in my family, in our family, that says suicide is an option. And I know that none of us want our children to see it as an option, that or inevitable, that this is going to happen. My older son, who was very close to his uncle, says, if it happened to Uncle Chester and he knows about me and it happened to you, when is it going to happen to me? And I'm like, that's not the question, baby. It's not going to happen to you.
And a good response could be is, you don't have those thoughts now. So
I'm like, my destiny is not your destiny.
Right.
You have your own journey. You are on your own path in this world. And Uncle Chester played a role in your path, but his story is his. It's not yours.
that's what I tell Draven. And our kids are going to have to really be close and tight and lean on each other.
Absolutely. I recently told Jacob about my attempt. And because of the therapy he's had, dealing with his uncle's passing, he was able, and I was so proud of him, he was able to take what he's learned and apply it to me, which was, I'm not responsible for someone else's life. I am not the one, I cannot persuade someone to or to not to. I can be a support, but it's not my responsibility. And that, I was so happy that he expressed that and could articulate that, so that he's not personalizing it. I don't want him to
It's not his fault.
take it in and own that.
Right.
It's not his fault. It's not his
And nor
responsibility.
can he make a change.
Absolutely. And that is what I want my family to know. But that goes back to that stigma that I'm a failure. I fail at everything. I fail at the attempt. I fail you. I fail me.
And I think right now what you're doing is succeeding at surviving and helping others and breaking the chain. You're succeeding. You are breaking the chain. You are breaking the abuse. You are succeeding right now. Do you not see that?
Until you just said that, I don't see that. It's not part of my
I'm watching you
repertoire.
succeed right in front of me. Like sitting right here, right now. As I see you strong. I see you beautiful. I hear when you tell me the doctors are amazing. I'm wearing my cute shoes tonight. And they're like so surprised that you're able, like, they're like, keep challenging yourself, keep doing it, because you're getting your mobility back. You might not, like you said, have feeling in your foot forever, but or ever again, but you're getting back to you.
Right.
And the better version of yourself and the best version of yourself, because you're healing.
I love what you just said, that she's succeeding, because she is succeeding, and it's about reprogramming your record.
And that is what a lot of DBT is about. The dialectical behavioral therapy is about reprogramming your ability to deal with reality. And a lot of it is mindfulness, using your wise mind, understanding that there's a balance. And there are sometimes you can live in two worlds, and you have to balance that middle ground.
Look how well you understand this. I mean, that is the success right there, and you're sharing that. That's amazing. That's really cool.
And I share my DBT skills, because we call it skills. I'm using my skills with my kids, and I'm trying so hard to teach them these skills without giving them the workbook.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Leading by example.
Yes, and talking to them about it. And, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?
I'm in shock right now. I have to admit. I don't know how to react right now because so many things I'm learning for the first time. So I think I need to process a little bit of this.
Okay.
You wouldn't know this since we're not recording this live, that yesterday we started this podcast and I had a tap out. I had a tap out for multiple reasons. First one being Chester's birthday, and we had an event that we were trying to stream live and had bands and family all come together. It was in his hometown. His immediate family was there. We had not only Toby, we had his sister Renee, we had his father Lee, his mother Susan, Draven was there, I was there. We also had many people flying in from several states, driving in and all arriving at the same time, on top of the honest fact that this is still very hard for me and I'm still shocked. And I want to talk about this because I learned quite a bit of things through you, Toby, yesterday. You shared so much. And when I was putting pieces together, and you can't see us, maybe you can hear it in our tone of voices, but we got very real. Toby is so brave. She is succeeding in so many ways. You are strong, you are brave, you are brilliant and beautiful. And you were so honest and forthcoming. And I actually, when we stopped recording yesterday, I pulled my sister aside and I said, I'm so sorry that I'm shocked, and I haven't cried because I'm still shocked. I don't know how to react, and I didn't know if I was being sensitive or I didn't know what if I was doing. And what Toby's response to me, and she's sitting right here, and I can't wait till she chimes in, but she's sitting right here, and I said, Toby, I didn't know how to handle all that. When you're finding out people have hurt the people you love, and you're finding it out for the first time, anger is the first emotion, and then I didn't know what to do. Right. I still don't know what to do, but I got very angry. I put a lot of things together. I know truth. I know you speak truth. I know you very well. My point of sharing this right now is this is what families who discover things for the first time are actually going to go through.
Absolutely.
And this is how you break the chain, as you were talking about before, because you're sharing these things that you didn't know about. This is how you're going to break the chain.
Right. It's so hard, guys. Yeah. I mean, getting rid of those stigmas and your bravery of sharing what you share. I'm here with you on this day-to-day road. You're never going to be alone. Ever.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. And it is a day-to-day. Sometimes it's a breath-by-breath experience. And it takes 24 hours to get through the day. If that makes any sense. I'm
Perfect
counting
sense,
the
yeah.
hours down till the next day. And there's no explaining that feeling other than knowing what it's like to be a survivor, surviving other people's passings, and not wanting to put my children through that feeling, not wanting to put you through that feeling, not wanting to put my husband, I don't want to make my family feel the way I feel, the way we all feel.
Right. That
feeling of loss and anger and sadness and just grief. There's no end to the grief of losing someone to suicide. And I don't want my family to go through that because I love you all.
I love you so much.
And I love you. I love the way you guys are doing. I love the platform that you've created. And I know that you both know what I'm talking about as far as that depth of grief. And so as a survivor myself of attempting, I try to remind myself of what that other survivor feels like.
Right.
And use that as a deterrent.
As a mom, we're both moms. Our kids are cousins. I love saying that. I love your son so much, honey.
Oh my goodness, Raven's the world.
How do you think he's handling all this? honestly, should I be concerned? I'm always concerned, but do you see anything as an aunt?
No, I don't.
He's strong and healthy.
He seems very strong and healthy.
And your boys, for me, because I can see things differently than you,
Right.
seem very strong and healthy.
Well, I have to say, and I'm going to speak for my son, who's a minor,
Uh-huh.
but he expressed several years ago that he wanted to hurt himself. And so he's in therapy. As soon as I heard that, as soon as he came to me and said, Mommy, I don't think I want to be alive anymore. After I picked my heart up off the ground
Right.
and stopped crying because I just couldn't believe that my son was feeling this way. Like,
Is it
That's
genetic?
tough.
I don't want him to feel this way.
Is it genetic? Are we dealing with genetics?
And I think we are. And the only thing I can say is that he hasn't had those triggers in his life. We have worked so hard to keep those triggers from
Right.
happening. And he has not had abuse in his life. He has not.
No, he's so loved.
We've created a beautiful home. He actually was self-harming. In preschool. He was found taking a stick to his skin and scratching himself to make himself bleed.
Do you think he was bullied at all?
No.
No.
No. He's going through a lot right now, and he's very in touch with his emotions. Like, he'll say, hormones suck, Mom. I feel like crying today. And I'm like, then let's have a cry. Let's get it out. And he's
So
like,
nice. You're so accepting.
"Oh, okay,
Great.
I can do
Yeah.
that." And I'm like, absolutely, you can do that. You can do that right here.
Yeah.
No one else is going to know. And you don't have to worry about telling anyone about what you did today. Just do it because you feel better for yourself.
Feel to heal. Cry it out. And
Yeah.
this whole stigma of you're a man and you can't show emotions.
No.
Guess what? Men listening, women love when you show your emotions.
Yeah.
Be vulnerable. Be real. You're not too cool
That's what
for
we're
school.
looking for.
That's
Right.
what women are looking for.
And they don't realize that. They think that we're just looking for them to be strong. It's like, no, we're looking for you to be vulnerable and be real and
Yeah.
not like be your fake confident self that a lot of times
Yeah,
they're showing.
It's
right?
okay to ask for directions. It's okay to cry.
Ask for directions.
I'm stuck on that.
You're,
Ask for
you are
directions.
stuck on that.
It must be in my family tree that men never wanted to ask for directions.
Yeah. But I do have one question that I want to ask, and I think this is really important. What's so great about this success story with your son? How did you go about finding that person? Because I think finding that person is a struggle for most parents. Finding the right psychologist, life coach, whatever it is, that's sometimes hard.
It was a challenge.
Oh, wow.
It was so hard because he was so young. He was 4 years old.
Right. And there has to be a personality connection too,
There
right?
does. At
that
that
they
point,
trust this person.
I was ready.
That
Just
you
just
trust.
give me someone. I'll take anyone because
Mhm.
nobody would take him. They're like, he's too young. He
Uh.
doesn't have a problem. He
Oh.
hasn't developed a problem. There's nothing wrong with him yet.
So
And-
even the professionals dismiss,
yes,
let
yes.
alone that parents would dismiss.
Wow.
Out of pure innocence, not
That's
Yes.
shocking.
It's shocking.
That's really
And-
shocking.
but
I-
professionally, that's upsetting.
I was calling hospitals because I didn't know who to call. I would call individual names. You have that list from your insurance, but
right.
that was a dead end. As soon as they would hear how old he was, they would not want to talk to him. So one day, I called one more hospital, and the woman said, went to dismiss you again, and I actually said, so who's going to be there for him when he's 15 and blows up the school?
Very powerful statement, although
Good for you.
very disturbing, but shocking. It's probably where you got their attention.
Yes. And she went, okay, I'll see if I can find someone. And I said, you're going to do more than see, because I'm living with this child, and I've actually had the phone call of, we can't let your child play with scissors. That's a real statement.
Right.
And my child was not allowed to play with scissors at school.
And you have this opportunity to change his way of thinking,
Absolutely.
to love him, give him confidence, build him up, and change
Yes.
this young child's life to having a normal life.
Right. His trajectory was headed in a very bad direction. And we could fix it. He's
Mhm.
young enough that we could fix that.
And he might not even remember
And
ever.
he still goes to therapy.
Uh-huh.
He doesn't remember that part about the
Thank
scissors. He's
Fine.
like, I really did that, Mom? And I'm like, yeah, just a couple weeks ago. He's
Uh-huh.
like, so how did I get into therapy to start with? And I said, you don't remember? He's like, no, not really. And I said, well, I'm kind of happy. I'm kind of happy you don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I will never forget.
Right.
I will never forget going through that. He just having a really hard time coping with Uncle Chester.
Mm-hmm.
That's very hard for him.
I'm sure.
And I worry about him when I leave. I don't like to leave the house. I don't like to leave him alone.
Right.
Because I worry about him.
Right.
Because
almost if he's gone and he did it, maybe that makes it okay. Do you think kids think that?
Absolutely. And he knows about me. We recently talked about my last attempt. And I wanted him to understand that it was a very organic conversation. And I was talking to him about why I worry about him so much. Because he has had a couple mental health days. He's tried to go to school, couldn't handle it for the day, and again he's come home. And I think that's fine. We, as an adult, we take a mental health day.
Hey.
They're even in your jobs. You have 5 mental health days you can take,
Right.
and aside from just regular sick days.
Right.
So I'm all about the mental health day. But he wanted to know why I was so understanding when other kids' parents were not. And I said, because I live this myself. I need mental health days. And I don't want to take that away from you because it's very real. And you don't abuse it. It's not like I wake up in the morning, I need a mental health day and go back to bed. Like, you give it your try. You do your very best. And sometimes your very best just isn't enough that day. And you need to take a break. So he always comes home. We always talk. It's always a very in-depth day.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't go do something fun. We sit home and we take care of each other. And
Self-love,
so telling him,
resting,
right, absolutely.
Good food, movie time, cuddle time,
Yes,
love
yes. Telling him about my attempt, put it in perspective for him, and that
time. Do you see how
that
much
he
you're succeeding right
wasn't
now? Not
alone.
only for you, but you're succeeding for your son. That is seriously breaking
That's
the chain.
amazing.
Do you see that?
I never thought about it.
But we are
I just-
talking about
This
it right
is
now.
exactly
so
what's happening.
are you
It's
thinking
awesome.
about it now? Because it's a fact.
Yeah, it is a fact.
Honey bunny, you are doing this very well.
If I can keep our family from having to do this again, from having to talk about being a survivor, whichever kind you are, there's nothing I wouldn't do. And anyone listening to this, don't take it lightly. You have to take it seriously.
Yeah.
And, if someone's calling out for help, be grateful that they're calling out for help.
Yeah.
Because so much of this is a silent syndrome. I worry about Jacob so much because I didn't tell people I was suffering. And it's those moments that you don't tell people that you're suffering that you might be suffering the most.
I think that's when you are suffering the most is when you actually go into recluse mode.
Yes.
I want to ask you something because our family's in the public eye. I get lots of private messages. I get emails. I don't know how people get my phone number. I guess they do their homework and they research and they Google and they hack and they do all this stuff. And there's so many messages. And I feel a fiduciary responsibility that anybody that gets a hold of me, that I've got to respond.
Right.
And I can't. In that moment, they're catching me in a business meeting or I'm driving my son to school and they're reaching out to me and I'm a complete stranger to them.
I know.
And if I don't get back to them and something happens, is that my responsibility? I know logically it's not, but emotionally it's hard and painful. So are you struggling with the same thing I'm struggling with?
People reach out to me on a regular basis. I reach out to other people on a regular basis. I do have several people that I talk to regularly. And some of them have, I know that they're using me as a source of strength. And I want that for them. But my biggest message to them is I can't fix this professionally. I'm not qualified to do this. I can listen to you. You have to seek professional help immediately.
Yeah.
And I tell people, go to the hospital. Please hang up from me and go to the hospital. If you are feeling like you are out of control, go to the hospital.
We aren't professionals.
Mm-hmm.
We aren't qualified to save the world.
No.
We would love to be.
Oh my
we were
gosh.
trying,
Well,
but
this is
we're
one of
not,
the reasons to start this. So
Well,
you could, yeah.
so that we can reach the masses.
Mhm.
Not. This is why we haven't gone on film yet. And I say yet because we would really like to graduate and do that with everyone, but we're trying to keep it so real that you're not focused on what we look like or what we're wearing. This is about surviving, saving lives, and making it through the most difficult scenarios.
It's okay.
And wow, this is me being weak, and I don't like it at all because I try to be the strong one in our family a lot, you
Yes,
know?
you do.
And everyone thinks I'm so strong.
Vulnerability is not weakness. This is courage. This is not
Exactly.
weakness.
I
This is
know, but
courage.
this is the feeling you have,
Yeah.
right?
You have a feeling of weakness, but you need to
But it's not.
to understand it's courage.
The expectation of fixing it is so big. There's so many people out there who think that I can fix what's going on with them.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking breath to breath.
I can't
You
fix
can't.
them. And I wish I could.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, I have to lay my head on my pillow and know that I tried my hardest. But sometimes trying my hardest is the best I can do for myself. And
right.
You can't give that to
I
someone
can't
else as
give
well.
to someone that what I don't have.
What we're doing, folks, is because of love, compassion, and the willingness to try to help others.
You know, when you spoke last night, it was really powerful, and I hope that, I mean, we do have it on live streaming. I'm going to go home now and download it and see what came up. But
Okay.
I definitely want to have, since you're our guest, and thank you so much for being here. This has just been amazing, don't you think? And I
Tobi,
really want you to
so
have the last
powerful. I'm so
word.
proud of you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be here with you guys. I really want to talk to the women and men out there thinking that they have no options, that the end is the only thing in sight, and really consider what that means, and the fact that you might not die. You might be back. You might actually wake up 18 hours later and suffer some major health issues, and also still have all the other stuff that you were already dealing with, compounding now health issues. I don't think anyone talks about surviving. It's just not something we talk about.
Are you better now?
I'm working very hard. I've never worked so hard in my life. For the first time, I'm not lying to my therapists. I've been in therapy since I was 15, and I've lied to them all.
I've read in research it's a very common thing.
As one of my therapists likes to tell me, you don't know that what's gone is really greater. No one has yet to survive that and tell us the honest, full-flavored truth of what the other side looks like. There's just so much that you're not in control of. And wouldn't it be better to try and get some control of your life while you're alive?